What's the cringiest thing you've ever done in the pursuit of love? I had a crush freshman year of high school. We always talked on MySpace, but hardly in person, even though we spent a lot of time together, and I would walk her to 6th period drama class. One day I felt like I hadn't spent enough time with her, so I went into the classroom. I figured there was so many students, probably 40 to 60 kids, the teacher wouldn't notice. So there I'm sitting in the classroom, not even next to her. It was a poorly thought out plan. After about 30 minutes the teacher calls me out. Something like, "Excuse me, who are you? I noticed you since the beginning of class." Now the entire class is staring at me in anticipation for my response. I quietly mumble I was just interested to see what you guys do in drama class, to which she loudly responds, "I'm sorry, you're going to have to speak up." Seconds feel like an eternity with everyone's eyes on me. One student repeats what I said, but in the most awkward way possible, while everyone is still looking at me. I just run out of the classroom. It's been 11 years and this still haunts me. Oh man. When I was in high school, the drama teacher hated me, so she didn't cast me in any of the plays. I still went to play rehearsal after school. I thought that if I just went anyway she would eventually accept me. I was wrong. She once asked me what I was doing there and told me to leave. I didn't even have any friends in the play. They were all mean, popular kids that hated me too. But it was my dream to be an actor. It still is. I never gave up. I'm heavily involved in professional theater in our city, and no one even knows who she is. That memory still hurts. Who shames a kid like that? My plan was to pretend to fall, but actually save myself right before to catch her attention and look cool. Well, sometimes things don't go as planned, and that's why I have a scar on my hip. I was young. Called crush's phone every 60 seconds for an hour, no answer. Repeat. I figured she'd pick up once she got home, and I wanted to talk to her as soon as possible. Unfortunately, she was on the phone with someone else the entire time, getting the "you have another call" notifications about incoming calls, just wasn't responding to them. After about the 60th time she picked up and screamed, "What?" And I tried to worm out of it like it wasn't me that had just called her over and over and over. She didn't buy it, of course. This one still keeps me up at night 30 years later. Gave the girl a copy of Nickelback's Far Away in hopes that expressing passion and desire through Chad Kroger's chocolate bars would be enough to avoid making any awkward confessions myself. Found it a week later at my aunt's house with no explanation. Definitely still causes me a cold sweat from time to time. I was very little. I was at a playground on the swings next to this girl I had a crush on. My dad just gave me an Underdog super duper swing boost for those who aren't familiar, and I got the best idea. I turned to the girl next to me, and in the best badass voice my prepubescent self could manage, I said, "Watch this." I let go of the chains hoping to be able to balance, but instead I shot off backwards like a rocket and immediately blacked out. Ended up being dragged back home in a wagon and woke up on the couch. When I was little, probably 5th grade, I had a crush. Let's name her Sydney. So throughout the school year we were really good friends. We moved up to 6th grade and luckily went to the same school. I started to like her because it seemed she always gave me good luck. She was also super pretty. You was really into music around that time, you probably know where this is going, and I was really good at singing. In my old school, we had half year through parties, and I thought that was the perfect time to do it. I wrote a love song a few days prior to the party day, then went to school. I had the paper with the song folded up in my pocket, and when the party started I offered her some of my chips. Then I sat her down and started singing. Literally everyone stopped talking, and it was just me singing. When I was done, she clapped, some laughed and some clapped. Later that day at the end of school, when we walked home, she expressed that my singing was shoot, but she loves the way I had so much courage and dignity to go and sing to her in front of everyone. We decided we should start dating. I also had my first kiss with her. When I was 12 I had a crush on a girl in my grade school. During our school's 7th grade dance, I didn't realize that as I was trying to psych myself up to ask her to dance, I was actually following her around, and she was very aware of it. She had to ask another kid to tell me to stop following her around and that I was being creepy. I ended up marrying another girl from my grade school class and we all got together like 20 years later at a bar, and I got to apologize and sort of explain what I was trying to do. In 7th grade I bought chocolate for all my friends on Valentine's Day. I bought an extra one on purpose to give to my crush and play it off as having an extra one and that it wasn't specifically for them. I forgot about one of my friends and they asked for it. When I said, "Oh look, there's one more. Who wants it?" I pretended like I didn't hear him and gave it to my crush. He told me he was allergic to chocolate and gave it back to me. I gave it to the forgotten friend. My crush later ate chocolate from another girl whom also crushes on him. I know because they ended up dating. The guy friend I neglected ended up revealing his feelings to me the same day, but didn't want to make a move because of how focused I was on my crush. I ended up having a lonely day and a cringe-worthy memory to look back on. Sent my crush a letter and kissed it with lipstick on. He was out to let everyone know about it. So embarrassing. He thought his ex had sent it, so I was never caught. I wrote a heartfelt letter after I broke up with her. Whenever I think about, I want to shrivel up under something. In 4th grade, we had a celebrity day where we would dress up as celebrities and set up like a wax museum. Parents and other teachers would come and could hear a little spiel we had prepared about our celebrity. Had a crush on a girl named Allison, so naturally, I dressed up as NASCAR driver Bobby Allison. Full jacket and helmet and all. Looking back, I can't believe that I thought this was a good idea. Edit, spelling. Lost a good GF in my early 20s late 30s now because I was insecure. She went out with her girls one night and said she would call around 11 to let me know what she was doing. She wasn't sure if she was going to stay a while or leave early and come see me. I was a night owl BTW. I probably called her nearly a dozen times by 2 AM. I don't know why. I just got it in my head that she was being pursued by countless better looking and more successful guys than me. I was never like that with any of my other GFs. She was way out of my league emo. That was also my first impression to her friends. They immediately convinced her I was clingy and just a rebound and to move on to someone better. She dumped me about 2 days later. That one still hurts and makes me cringe on how I acted. Always wonder how that one would have turned out had I not been like that. In 8th grade, the most beautiful girl in the school asked me to tie her shoe. I did it without hesitation and it didn't hit me until years later what a spoiled bitch she acted like, lol. I read gay fanfiction to a girl cause she couldn't sleep. Still one of my funniest memories of all time. Not really crazy, just weird. A girl I was over the top in love with was leaving to go back to college at like 6 AM. So I woke up extra early just to surprise her at her house with a gift. That gift? A folded wrinkled picture of her and her friend where only half of my body is in it, not even really knowing I was in a picture. I thought I was so romantic at the time, but I'm cringing even typing this. When I was 11 I tried hitting on a grocery store cashier. Had the opposite thing happen. My little sister has always looked a lot older than she is. We're hanging out at the grocery store and the cashier who I went to high school with was laying it on thick trying to flirt with her and she was not registering what was going on. Finally I cut him off and said "Dude's 12 and he went bright red and didn't say a word the rest of the transaction. Poor dude. I made some mixed CDs in the early 2000s to express my feelings to my girlfriend. I may have even left them as a surprise under her windshield wiper at her job. Back in my Guild Wars 1 days I drew a heart by dropping a few hundred gold coin bags in an instance I opened privately, recorded it with my trial version of Fraps, edited it with Windows Movie Maker, put a Sum 41 song in it, uploaded it publicly on YouTube, and sent the link via MSN Messenger to my girlfriend. She didn't know what Guild Wars is, or what I'm doing there. We were 12 over 13 or something like that. Wrote anonymous poetry and hid it in a girl's textbooks for 6 months. Brooding and hormonal 13 years old me thought it was the most romantic and deep piece of literary work to grace our century. Declarations of love backdropped against gothic iconography like Bram Stoker's Wet Dreams. To make matters worse, my handwriting was, and still is awful, bearing a closer resemblance to cuneiform than English. That poor girl must have thought she was being stalked by the bastard love child of Anton LaVey and the Zodiac Killer. I got a rose with a message on it and gave it to my crush at the time. I don't even remember what the message said, but after that she went from being friendly to kind of cold. I dodged a bullet though, because it turned out that she was kind of nasty on the inside and made fun of me for liking her. I wrote a girl a poem confessing my attraction and asking her out. Now, to be fair, I had my more socially astute sister proofread it first to make sure I wasn't doing something stupid. She transferred out of the 2 classes we had together and told me never to talk to her again. She avoided me for the next 2 years, then I never saw her again. AIM people will remember posting really pointed and angsty song lyrics in an away message and typing BRB so that your crush will receive your lyrical confession. This is how I snagged my husband. He will constantly remind me of this time in our lives. I was 17 and head over heels for a girl, but unfortunately for me had put myself firmly in her friend zone by being a stereotypical nase guy without the name calling or dick pics though. The signs that she didn't like me were all there. She called me her gay best friend and did drop everything to spend time with her. I confessed my love for her one night when a few of us were out for dinner and drinks. She knew I fancied her, but wasn't interested, which broke my heart. I ended up spending most of the night awkwardly sitting at the bar getting drink after drink for myself and offering to buy her drinks, which she declined. The bartender was an old friend. Eventually we left and I asked her if she'd changed her mind after seeing what connections I had. She said no. I wanted to prove I was a badass, plus I was hurting inside, so I kept jumping into hedges or falling face first onto the pavement on purpose to try and impress her. It went about as well as you could expect. We stayed friends for a bit after that, but haven't spoken in years now. I was a cringy frick then. I was 13 and liked a boy in my class. During quiet class walk time, the teacher would play popular music. At the time, You Belong With Me by Taylor Swift was all over the airwaves. When it came on once, I started mouthing the words to him from across the room, and literally everyone else in the class noticed this except him. Got some weird looks. He definitely knew I liked him and didn't like me back. Now a decade later, based on social media, I definitely dodged a bullet there. But it gets lots of laughs during wine night with my friends, so my past embarrassment was worth this funny story. In 4th grade I overheard when my crush would be logging on to Club Penguin that night and where to find him, so I logged in and found him. He didn't know it was me, but I thought if through chatting I could get him to like me in the game, he would then like me in real life. So I kept saying I love you and putting up heart emotes until he did it back. Plan failed. He didn't like me back. I had a huge crush on this guy from 4th to 6th grade. Tried to follow him home tons of times. One time, it was raining, and I saw he was not using an umbrella, so I ran and held an umbrella for him. He was shocked and asked me, why the hell am I following him? Oh, bursts into tears when I found out he had a girlfriend and was changing schools in high school. Wrote him love letters and such. He told me kept a few of them, but he lost it in a flash flood. I also spied him every time I would pass his classroom. We dated in our junior year, but I got back with my abusive ex, and he focused on getting a scholarship. Dated again in college, but we were too busy and just couldn't work it out. He's an architect now, and when he found out I was getting married and pregnant, he was happy for me and made me promise that if I want to have my dream house, I should call him and he will make sure he'll give me one. Things didn't work out, but I am so proud that he was my first love. We don't talk anymore, but he will always have a special place in my heart. Hope you're doing okay, Luke. I was 8 when I had a crush on my older brother's friend who was like 12, so I attempted to wear makeup to look older. I received one of those life-size Barbie styling heads for Christmas, and it came with some makeup, so I applied blue eyeshadow, blush, and red lipstick. When he saw me he laughed, and my brother told me I looked like a clown. As if that wasn't enough, my mom appeared and in typical dramatic Filipino mom fashion, placed her hand over her heart and said, "What are you doing?" Anik child, you look like a baby hooker. I didn't touch makeup again until I was in my late 20s. Woo boy. I told her I had my eye on her. Then I realized the next step was asking permission to date her, yeah, and decided I wasn't about that life. I was so embarrassed that I ghosted. I still cringe today. I was such a loser. Found out recently she's dying of cancer in her mid-30s, so there's that to make it worse. I literally burned myself. I didn't move while burning so she could watch me how much I love her. I was wearing a tank top and had leather jacket on it. The leather was fake and cheap, and there was nothing between my skin and the leather. Jacked stick to my body. I burned my chin's right side. When she just sighed and closed the window, I realized how bad I fricked up. I put out the fire for like 5 minutes after burning myself. When I tried to take the jacket off, I realized that it was going to hurt. In 6th grade, I intentionally mixed up a Rubik's Cube, just so I could watch my crush solve it. He was really good at solving Rubik's Cubes. Okay, this happened almost 12 years ago. I'm from India. I had a serious crush on this girl in my class. What did I decide to do? Consult a special astrologist to know whether the girl will ever love me back or not. The kicker is, this place is around 20 hours travel from my city. The journey involves overnight travel by train and bus and a couple of hours of waiting. It's so embarrassing to think about it that I haven't told anyone about this, including my wife. I still cringe thinking about it sometimes. Stayed with friends of my stepmom's for the first time. I ended up making out with their son. Didn't get his social media or anything, so I decided to add his mum on Facebook and send my number to her and ask her to give it to him. FML, I still cringe to this day. I've been in a toxic relationship with this girl that basically didn't give a shoot about me and my feelings, but I, on the other hand, would do all those things to get in touch with her. She would then make me feel bad about how pure I was towards her, and one day she decided to break up with me. I was so destroyed that day and cold and think how good is for me that it has finally ended, so I decided to do some devoting act to get her back thinking. It would make her heart melt because of my commitment, so I asked our mutual friend to question her if she's busy, and if she's not, then he would say that he's actually around her house and would like to meet for a minute because he's bored. After that, me and our mutual friend would drive to nearest mall to buy some flowers, and I was hiding in the trunk. So as soon as he pulled up to her house, I jumped from his car's trunk with rose in my hand asking her to give our relationship a second chance. She said no, of course.